right, my friends. Guess what? And guess who it is? It is yours truly, fucking Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, south of West Florida. And I don't have the guitar out here with me. Well, so was that firecracker or is that thunder and lightning? We're getting a little bit of both, my friends. Happy 4th of July weekend. Hope all is safe and well. And I wanted to do this while I got my, well, like halfway charge on my phone. And while I figure I can, we will be going live tomorrow at our gig. We will be doing, I think we're in it's in the Estero. And to the private community, beautiful place. We've played there before, quite a few times there before, for our 4th of July. And we're only doing a 2-hour set, which is great. And getting paid great. So it's a win-win. Yesterday's gig we had a great time. It was awesome as always at Yucatan's. They always take care of us, you know. They always take good care of us, and that's why we like Yucatan's. And so, yeah. So basically, this is, I could say technically, the Gigging Guitarist episode number 4. And what I wanted to kind of discuss was I've been noticing there has been quite a few people putting up videos of their experiences with gigging and solo gigging and that. And you know, every one of these guys' channel, they're very spot on. They got great advice, and I always recommend, you know, if someone is going to go out and they're going to go out and do their first gigs, but they're not too sure, you know, in this day and age, check out, you know, some of the social media and the YouTube videos and look for those particular videos that are conducive to what you're doing. And the reason why I say that is you're going to get a very good idea what to expect. Now, keep in mind, is it everything to expect out there? No, because there are variations and things will you know, they'll be a little different, you know. So, but for the most part, it's almost the same. And the reason why I say that is because all of these videos that I've come across, as great as they are, and trust me, they are excellent, they are still all geared to a solo acoustic singer. Now, if that is the category that you're looking to get into, by all means, you check a lot of those channels out because it really will be, you know, right up your alley. I know there's one guy that's up in the Tampa, Bradenton area. He is his name is Jason Stallworth. He actually his guitar channel is geared to metal. So, and what's really cool with this channel is he's kind of showing you guys, look, just because I love metal, and I love metal too, you know, but just because I'm playing metal does not mean you cannot go out there and venture into other styles of music that interest you. And he's a perfect example of that. He'll go from on his, you know, regular YouTube channel in his in-home studio where he's doing all these metal riffs and things of that nature, which great guitar player, by the way. But then he'll also show the videos with he's doing his solo gigs, the solo acoustic gigs, and from time to time he does have his wife join in and, you know, sing some harmonies and hear, you know, whatever parts of the songs, and which is great. So you get a chance to see this two different sides. So, you know, back in the day, it was always deemed that, Dwight Bailey, what is happening, brother? Hope all is well. Happy 4th of July, man. Hope all is well and safe. I know I didn't give out a notice. I gotta, after I'm done streaming, I gotta put my phone back on the charger. I figure I'd do this as quick as possible. I've been wanting to do this actually Wednesday, but you know, we got stormed out, man. It's our rainy season down here, and I'll tell you what, when we get these lightning strikes, boy, it takes things out, man. But you know, that's a price you pay. You know, there's always a trade-off, right? But getting back to Jason Stalwart's channel, You know, it's a good example of someone that's actually out there gigging, and you get to see that part of him as well as his in studio where he is. Thank you so much, Dwight. Happy Fourth of July to you too, brother. Really appreciate it. You get the chance to see, you know, him out there, you know, in his in-home studio playing metal and teaching metal riffs. And I'm glad if you're watching, Jason, keep that seven string. You know, I got my first seven string about 6 months ago, and I love that thing. It's great. There's a lot you can do with it. It opens up a lot of doors sonically. There's another guy. I apologize for forgetting your channel. He plays the eight string. He's over in England. Great channel. Actually, when I bought the seven string, at a quick glance, I thought it was the eight string, but no big deal. I love it anyways because like I said, there's a lot I could do with it, and because that Jackson has a longer scale width, when I do certain bass patterns, it seems to have a little bit deeper sound. And even though the pickups are the most basic, cheap pickups, you know, stock pickups, they work great for what I do. So me changing those pickups out, probably not. And if I did, I would try to get the exact same size because they're almost like a cross between a Gibson mini humbucker and like a P90. So they're like in that range size wise. But anyways, I you know, putting that aside, I get a great tone out of that guitar. I really do love it. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is that all these videos that you'll see that's out there that's geared to helping people with the solo acoustic gig, whether it's solo acoustic, solo slash acoustic electric, and singing, it's very specific. Now, if you're interested in what like stuff I do as an instrumentalist, it is different. There is a little difference here because obviously there's no singing, so there's no lyrics, but I'm doing the vocal melodies on the guitar. Plus, I'm kind of shooting more for a specific style of music as and at the same time adding some of the, you know, popular covers, you know, that I particularly do like and doing the vocal melodies on you know, on those songs. Um, so for people who are interested in what I do, what makes it different is that when you go to sell yourself, um, for the most part, you'll hear people say, "Yeah, to do the bar scene, you got to do this, that, and the other," and there's some truth to that. However, if there's a particular place that you do want to play, you know, you could tell them what you do, but you could tell them in a way that it's going to interest them. You know, if you just go in and say something to the effect that, "Well, I don't sing, I'm just an instrumentalist," well, just that alone kind of sets the mood down. It's like, okay, well, you don't sound like you're really trying to convince me I should hire you because in just that tone right there, it's like, well, yeah, I don't sing, you know, so it's just instrumental. No, be when you're selling yourself, be very, you know, proud of what you do, you know, like what you do, and just sell it as the benefits of what you do, you know. And I know that for some people out there, you're gonna say, "Yeah, but Dave, people want to hear lyrics." You know, yes and no, because you see, the thing is, with restaurant slash club gigs, and any type of gig in particular, you know. But let's stay with the restaurant and club gigs. You're always having a turnaround of people within 3 hours, and but if they like what you're doing, they're gonna stay. And I've had this a lot of times. And for people that might doubt themselves going out as an instrumentalist, when you see the videos that I do, you know, I'm streaming live, no matter if you like them or you don't like them, or sometimes you get a little choppy because, you know, the way the live stream is, they're still out there and they are still proof that almost 2 years, especially the one place in particular, over almost 2 years, been going solid with it. Not one lyric has been sung out of my mouth. So there is proof that, yeah, you can do this. You just have to be strategic, um, and be good at your craft, because there is a group of people out there that miss the days of going out and seeing something different and almost seeing something to the effect of a show. You know, there is still that crowd of people out there, and especially when you're in areas where there is a high senior citizen population. And what I mean by senior citizen, I could actually say 50 and up. You know, that kind of gets, you know how it is. People say, "Oh, if you're 50, you're over the hill." You know what I mean? But that age demographics. If you think about this, if you're 50 years old, you subtract 30 years from that. 30 years ago, believe it or not, it was the 1990s. It was 1992. So if you're 50 now, you were 20 back then. And that means you were in your teens during the heyday of the metal scene and all the stuff that was going on in the 1980s. So basically, you're kind of that product there. And if you're in your 60s, well then you could go back to the 1970s where you were in like in your 20s. You see what I mean? So we're seeing an age demographics of people who are the aging rockers. Now, with that being said, in the 60s and especially the 1970s, if you happen to be into the style of music that I'm playing, a lot of the jazz fusion mixed with some of the classic rock stuff and the blues rock stuff, um, that was a very, very creative time. And from my experience playing this down here, I always get people. I mean, you could get people that are not into it. You know, you're always gonna get that. Don't take it personal. They're just being honest. They'll still like you though, because if you have a likable personality and you're polite to them, they'll be polite back. Absolutely. But now let's get into the people that are into this kind of music. I've always had it where we're done, we're done playing and we're tearing down and loading up the car. I've always had people tip me. I always had people come up and say, thank you so much because we don't get a chance to hear this kind of music anymore. And I had this statement said to me quite a few times where they would say it's almost like we're forgotten about. Or if they don't come out and say that, they will insinuate that. And for the much part, they're right. They're absolutely right. And what has been happening, especially now that we've been advertising in these local papers, only in like their calendar, their local calendar. And it's just, words, Saturday, live music, Dave Byron plays jazz fusion at Yucatan's and Matlacha Island. Well, even though it's just a very small ad, people have been responding to that. So my point I'm trying to make here is you don't need to go and advertise these big ads unless you want to. You can, but let's say the money's tight and for whatever reason, the money's a little bit tight and you want to take advantage to get the ball rolling and advertising their local papers in their calendars. It's a good way to start because you'd be very surprised. People do read that, and especially if you're in an area where is, like I said, highly senior citizen population. Where everyone's old school. They long for the days where simplicity, you know what I mean? So this kind of takes them back to that day, and especially if you are kind of moving around and you look like you're interested. There's another thing people have been telling me this. Even the people who really particularly don't like the kind of music I'm playing, they'll say to me, that's not my thing, but I had a lot of fun watching you play because I could tell you are really into what you do. You're not faking it, you know. So there is hope for people who want to go out there and do instrumental music in your area. Now, keep in mind, you might not be gigging all the time, but don't let that frustrate you, you know, because you have to be real honest with yourself. You have to say, do I want to be out there every single weekend or like, maybe 4 times, 4 days out of the week, every week, playing music I'm really not too fond of, if you could do that and if you like it, fine, it might not take too long for you to get to burnout, you know, if you're into it, by all means, you go for it, because there are people that are very much into the covers and the top 10 hits and that's they just love doing that. They're legit, they're not a sellout, and I have a lot of respect for them. And but there are some of those that they're really not into it and they're just getting out there to try to prove that they could be a full-time musician. And when I would run into them in the music store, they'll they'll be kind of singing a different tune, you know. Um, and they're good people and they're good musicians, you know. They're very talented, but they kind of give me the impression that they feel like they're holding themselves back and they've hit the burnout syndrome, you know. They kind of put them in a situation now that they have to. This is what I mean. If you have a side business or a part-time job that you really like and you're afraid to walk away from it, then don't walk away from it. Use that income to support yourself, and then your live gigs. See, now you could be a little bit more particular in what you want to do. You don't have to do every single song that comes out on the radio if you don't want to, because you're not marketing yourself that way. And you get creatively, you will have more of an upper hand that way because you're not putting yourself in a situation where you have to rely on that. You know, that's only if you don't want to. Um, and again, if you love doing the covers, well, then absolutely go for it. You know, but these videos I've been putting up, these live streams, really, really is telling that yeah, you can do this. You know, when I've had these conversations with some of these guitar players that play in these cover bands, it's always at the local music store, and we have the little jam sessions. If they're trying out an amp or a guitar, pedal, whatever, or even go in the acoustic room, jamming out a little bit, and we compliment each other on our skill levels and our techniques and that. But when I hear them saying, yeah, but and I've had this happen quite a few times. They'll tell me, oh no, but you can't do that at the gigs. You know how it is. I'll look at them and say, I do know how it is, and yeah, I do this at the gigs. You know, I tell them this. For me, I kind of go the route of having the music survive. You know what I mean? Standing strong for what I really believe in, and the kind of music I love to listen to, and the kind of music I love to play, and standing very firm and strong on that. Um, I'm very blessed and fortunate that as much as loving metal, I also love the fusion music, and that right there is an easier sell than the metal. Now, for people who are into metal, doesn't mean you can't find that crowd. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work to make that stand. Buckluster, what's happening, brother? Thank you for tuning in, man. Hope all is well with you. Um, you know, what you have to consider is that for people who are into metal, go to some of these places, and I'm not saying you could do it at an open mic, but not always at open mic. Try to market yourself and say, well, look, this is what I do, and what you work out your pay between you and the club owner is between you and the club owner. Don't devalue yourself, but at the same time, don't overprice yourself. Sometimes you have to do a little strategy to get your foot in the door to prove your point. But if you could prove your point that you're a solid player, and there will be people that will come out, I'll tell you what. Definitely tell you this: managers and club, especially club owners, they'll start to see this and they'll start to get the feedback. Hey, this is great, because when you have too much of one thing and it gets oversaturated, it sets a void on the other styles of music, and that's when you can actually kind of get in on the side door, because with the kind of music that you like that got voided out, now what happens is, because it's been voided out for so long, now it actually starts to become the new thing. It's like, oh man, remember back in the day when we go to the metal concerts, and we would see these bands, and wow, look at this guy or this band. They're kind of recreating that same atmosphere, that same time when we were younger, and we're actually digging it. So there is definitely hope for that. But getting back to the jazz fusion stuff, that's just as hard to sell, because a lot of it is all instrumental. Not all of it, but for the most part it is. And it's when people start to hear the strong melodies, or if they hear a cover song, but they hear the melody playing on the guitar, it's like, oh, I know this song. And the cool thing with this is when you can bring your volume down because there's no one singing real loud, so your volume could be down, drop down. It becomes a little bit easier on the ears, and it's easier for like the wait staff to hear, the guests that come in if they're gonna order something. We were just down in Naples today, which is about it's a town that's south for us, about 35 miles south, and checking out a few places. And all three of the places we were talking with, the people there, when we said about the instrumental and easy on the ears, they're instantly their faces lit up, especially, the when we told them the style of music, because they don't get a chance to really hear that kind of music anymore, you know. And we're going in there not to try to take anybody's position, but when they do their rotation. And we've had one lady, she says, yeah, we're just looking for a new talent and something that's different. And see, this is where we get in this position where we could get our foot in the door, where now we can start incorporating all these other places, and that's going to work in our favor as well. Not just financially, but stylistically. I've told quite a few of the musicians, that my musician friends down here, not every place that's down here I want to play at. Let's say if it happens to be more on the style of country music, well, that's not a good fit for me. I respect it. Then other people will be a better fit for that particular venue, that are really into that kind of music, that love it. So it gives them that chance to go out and play. And at the same time, it doesn't force that club owner to try to change their criteria of how they have their restaurant, bar, and grill set. You know what I mean? But for those who do want to try something different, it opens up the door. You know, never be afraid to get a rejection. Everyone gets that. You know what I mean? Clive, 54, what's happening? Happy 4th of July, man. Yeah, I figure I'll have the phone looking at the palm tree and a little bit of sky. See, now it's not so bad. Earlier, it rained a little bit, and then it was thundering and lightning, but you could still see parts of the sky gray. It's our rainy season. We are going to be outside under a tent, and we're playing what, 1 to 3, but you know how it is. You got to get there early and set up and all of that. And I think what they'll have it is, if it starts to rain, then they'll move us inside. We played at this place quite a few times before. It's a private community, but it's great, man. It's beautiful. And we're only doing, like I said, 2 hours, and which is great, because see, they'll hire us based on what the kind of music we play. And that's another thing. There are so many opportunities out there. For musicians that have a particular style of music or particular set list. I think, my advice really for cover bands is continue doing what you love to do. If you love to do all those covers, and man, that is your passion, 100%, you go for it, because you're being real. It's not a bad idea to take a look around. And if there's, 5 other cover bands that's kind of doing the same songs that you're doing, try to alternate your set list a little bit, so that it doesn't seem that it becomes like you're just another band doing the same songs. Because trust me, I've heard that statement being said by just the locals, just the people sitting at the bar. They'll say, yeah, they're great bands, but they're all playing the same music. It's just a different person playing the same song. And it makes, the thing that kind of makes it a little bit worse is when they're trying to sound so much like the record, when you have all these other bands trying to do the same thing. It really puts a little bit of a spark into it when you put your own spin on it. Or you have you got a band that comes in, and you got a person that's playing electric violin, and you know what? Maybe you drag that, you extend that song out, and after you do the vocals, now you let the violin do the vocals on the vocal melodies on the violin, while the band continues to play. Have something a little bit different and refreshing, because it really does work. Now, what I wanted to say about what Jason Stahl was, yep, that's it. Bumblebee, Southwest Florida, my friend. Yep. Hope all is well. Yeah, Debs, we just got done recording the CD, the new CD, which it was a long time coming. The last time we actually released a full length CD might have been 10 years ago, maybe 12. I don't know. We were still up in Illinois and we were doing all these gigs, man, and it was like, when you're constantly gigging, things get put on the back burner. There's only 24 hours in a day, and with all the different types of gigs we were doing. Janice Lala, what's happening? Yeah, I get mad when I hear people do the songs that I do, like they read. Yeah, Janice, 100% on faith. Exactly. Do you know what? Some people do, Janice, and I know you know this. Even when they come out, they'll see what's getting the people moving and grooving on the dance floor, right? And then they'll walk up and they'll look at the pedals. They'll see if they see the set list, and they'll kind of, especially if you got the songs numbered, or if they recognize it, or they'll write it down, or even if they just recognize it, they'll write it down. Um, at some point, what it actually does, it makes this music scene stale, and it only becomes like the human jukebox. And again, there's nothing wrong with that for people who love to do the covers. Like I said, just my best suggestion is just alter. If there's a band that's out there has a particular set list and they're doing it in a particular order, well then if you're doing a few of those songs, change the order so it's not the same, because it's real bad when the general public make comments like that. And, don't worry about it, Bumble Best. Exactly. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, we know what you meant, man. I have the same problems when I'm typing on these things. The letters get all screwy together. That's it, man. Yeah, that's why you stopped posting. Yeah, I don't blame you, Janice. Because there's nothing worse than you're trying to get yourself out there playing, and then someone tries to beat you to punchline. And you're always going to get this, guys. You will always get this where people are going to try to beat you to they want that spot too. But there's ways you could use diplomacy and selling yourself with dignity, and respect for the other musicians. And I'll tell you, club owners, they do recognize that, because the last thing. Oh yeah, Bumblebuzz, have a good evening. If you're leaving for the night, man, don't worry about it, brother. Yeah, doing good, Bumble. Yeah, see, the whole thing is that you know, you're gonna always have that. But like I said, just do it with dignity, because club owners, they will recognize that. And you know what? Even if you tried to do a book yourself at a particular place 5 years ago, let's say, and if they're still in business, now 5 years have gone by of them dealing with some of these people, and if they remember how well you contact them, you're always polite, you're not calling like every other day, you're using strategy. You're understanding that, well, they get busy and maybe now is not the right time. I'll try back later. There's a lot of good club owners out there. They do see that. They recognize that. And they will remember, you know. And chances are it won't take long for you to get your foot in that door, because they're going to remember you. And they're going to remember how respectful you were, you know. So it's always, you know, it's always a good thing to position yourself with that thought in mind. Now, I do know, I think I might have mentioned this earlier with Jason Stallworth. He had like this 5 tips for this solo acoustic guitarist and singer. And tip number 3 was really good about, recommending the drink specials or the meal specials and that, which sometimes I would do, but there were times I stopped doing that, and there's a reason why. Sometimes they'll change, or it's not they won't change out their menu, so they'll do that. But there's been on occasion there's certain popular dishes they ran out of food. They ran out of that particular dish, or they ran out of that particular beverage. And there I am. Oh, guess what, guys? If you order this and this special and that special, and then people say, oh yeah, he recommends it. Then they go to order. Sorry, we're out of it. I don't know why I keep saying. So sometimes there is strategy. You know. That's why I'll just say, yeah, we've eaten here before. The food is great. The drinks are great. You're gonna have a great time, great meal. And if you notice, maybe I should push more if you like the music I'm playing, where you could tip us. If you don't have, you could do tips on PayPal and all that. But I try to stay away from that. Maybe I should use the word be generous. Like I say, generous to the wait staff. But I will always push the wait staff and the bartenders in that, because they like that. Word gets back to the management, and they always say, Dave always thinks about us, and we like that. He doesn't think for himself. He understands. He knows the name of the game here. And especially if you're not doing every single popular song, and especially if you're doing, let's say, 50% covers and 50% originals, that when you say that in a selling point, sometimes it's almost like you get rejected. Not all the time, but sometimes. So, like I said, when you're using strategy and say that, this is the type of music I play, these are the songs I play, or if you say, yeah, this is what I do, and you want to give it a chance, it's always when you prove yourself. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Bumblebus. Yeah, I do appreciate it. Um, when we're selling, like when I came down to start doing all this, especially during the lockdown COVID thing, um, it really opened up some doors. It really opened up some doors, and then when I came in and I proved myself, boom. If I would have walked in and say, "Yep, I don't sing, I play all instrumental, I this, that, and the other," sometimes it's a little bit hard. But if you come in and say, "This is the type of music I play, this is what I do, and if you want to give it a chance, let's see what we could." But just you got nothing to lose. They give you a chance, and if instantly they see what the whole point, what you're doing, that's how it helped me get locked into these places, because they saw what I and saw and heard what I was doing. I didn't have to explain it, and as soon as they heard it, instantly they're like, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. In conjunction with everything else I have, boom, you're like 180-degree difference of what these other people are doing. So boom, it's that niche, and it worked. It worked out great for us. So sometimes having that niche goes in your favor. So now, don't be afraid to try that out. And like I tell my other friends, who have original, I'll ask them, do you play originals? And as soon as they say no, nobody wants to hear them, I say, well, how do you really know? If you got some good songs, and you first, especially if you think they're good, and when you play them, you play with passion. I'm not saying that you're gonna please 100% of those people, but you never are gonna please 100% of those people, anyways. But you might be surprised how many of those people might really take to your own music, to your originals. But if you're too afraid and listen to some people be like the naysayer and say, oh no, you can't do that, this is what you got to do, no one's gonna call you back, blah this and blah that, well, then it kind of puts you in a little bit of a downer there, because now you figure, okay, well, no one's gonna want my music, so why even bother? Well, yeah, bother, because you might, like I said, you might be surprised, and because of what you are playing and what you are doing, and when they hear that's your own music, they're like, hey, it's exactly what I've been looking for. And then it leads to better gigs and better shows. So yeah, you cannot be afraid. That car has a bad what? Yeah, you heard that, right? Yeah, Bumblebus. So, um, when you see these videos that give these advice, look at them, and if they apply to you, 100%. I always say, keep this in mind. Always remember, not 100% of what you're seeing happens to one person will particularly, happen to you, even in that same place. You could get the same gig that same night at that same venue, the week later on a Friday, and it might be a totally different situation for you. You have to keep that in mind. So everything is kind of similar, but there is alterations. Ian's Guitar Shack, what's happening, man? It's going great. Thank you so much. I'm only gonna be on for a few more minutes because it just flashed on my phone. I got 15%, and before the thing shuts down, I just wanted to, just do a really quick live stream and kind of like touch on this subject. Um, that for people who are out there looking to gig and they see a lot of these videos, keep in mind that especially if you're a singer, a lot of that will apply to you. And those people that are giving advice, they're actually out there playing, you know. But let's say if you don't sing and you want to be an instrumentalist, you might like the things that I'm doing, and it gives you proof that yes, you can do this, you know. So don't discredit yourself, and at the same time keep in mind that things I go through you might not necessarily go through, you know. So everything is subjective, you know. So yeah, how many shows you have a weekday? Well, right now we're basically down to one or two. Down here it's our off season. But the funny thing is, in last month in June, we had half of the shows that we had in May. We had more shows in May than June, but we made more money in June. So you start getting more of these bookings in some of these places where it's more of like a private event or more of a corporate event, or just have more money. They're looking for a particular style of music. The thing is with the jazz fusion music, it is always geared to a more upscale crowd, you know. So it's always expected that you'll have people with money paying that. Now, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you can't play it at these other places, because you definitely can. You know,